Go ahead and hit record. Well, thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. We have a very special guest for you, so we're excited. My name is October Bowles. I am the Chief Clinical Officer and Customer Officer at ICANotes. And we are a behavioral health electronic medical record company, and we're sponsoring this webinar today. And I am pleased to introduce you to our speaker, our very fabulous, wonderful speaker, Don Morrison. He is an LCSW. He is a highly skilled clinical social worker. He has a wealth of experience in the field. I have worked side by side with him almost 15 years ago. So, and Don provides.
Been that long.
I know. Can you believe it? It
Yeah.
hurt. People always say, well, how long have you been licensed? It's 25 years. And it hurts me to say that out loud. But,
yes.
But Don, he provides exceptional clinical supervision for provisionally licensed LCSWs, helping them develop the skills and knowledge necessary to succeed in their careers. And he has worked in a variety of settings throughout his career, including school-based, outpatient and inpatient environments, and his extensive experience has given him a deep understanding of the challenges faced by social workers and therapists and counselors in these different contexts, as well as the best practices for providing effective care to his patients and clients. And currently, Don is in private practice where he continues to provide that high quality clinical supervision and support. And his dedication to the field and his commitment to helping others really makes him an invaluable resource, especially for those looking to enhance their skills and advance their careers in social work. And he is the therapist to the therapist and a mental health professional. So thank you so much for being with us here today, Don, and talking about healing the healer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, October. I appreciate that very kind, effusive welcome here. Thank you. We are recording this. So I'm going to keep that in case anybody ever needs to hear those kind words about me. I so appreciate that, no doubt. And I so appreciate being here with all of you today. Welcome. Happy Thursday. It's 12 o'clock here in Mooresville, North Carolina, and it is 75 degrees. And I'm here with you guys today. That's my good news. Please check in with me. Let me know where you're listening to us from, and say hello, introduce yourself, and tell us some good news today. Give us some good news. Tell us something good about your Thursday. Let's start off the day like that, because today we're definitely going to talk about some great news and focusing on healing the healer and looking at ways that we can incorporate more self-care into our routine. And please check in on the chat too, when I say the term self-care, let's do a little Freudian free association if you don't mind. What are the first things that you think of when you hear self-care? Give me those first. Oh gosh, everybody's checking in. I love it. Hello, everybody. Hello. I see we've got Phoenix, we've got Southern California, Colorado. Hello, everybody. Welcome. And Shirley said it's a half work day. So Shirley, I ain't mad at you. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you. And you're taking good care of yourself. Thank you so much. And Sandra from Rayford, North Carolina. Hello, a fellow North Carolinian joining us today. But yes, please give me that free association. When you think about self-care, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? Because we are going to take a deeper dive into what this means, and we're going to explore some specific ways to do it. Because I know that every time we talk about, I saw briefly oxygen. Someone said oxygen, and then it disappeared. But yes, absolutely, it's oxygen. It is necessary for us to survive and thrive in this very wonderful, beautiful, but hectic mental health field that we find ourselves in today. So today we're going to look at what self-care is and explore some practical ways to really put it into practice and to explore your own thoughts and feelings about what it is that you need to be doing for your self-care. We'll also look at just a little bit, we'll look at burnout and what that means and how that is affecting us as mental health professionals. And also, again, look to some very specific ways for us to put self-care into practice. I'm going to challenge y'all today. I'm going to encourage you today. And we're going to have some very honest, real conversations about what it means to be doing what we do, loving what we do, but also recognizing that the struggles of what we do and how that impacts us in negative ways sometimes. We'll absolutely look at that. So we'll start. Can we do the first slide here, please? We talk about self-care all the time, and when I saw Patty says, my dog, nature, and yoga, that is absolutely fantastic. I have a fur baby myself, and you may hear Lola. She's my Shih Tzu, and she's in the background, and she's a diva, and but she is absolutely part of my self-care too. So thank you, Patty. I'm sure we got a lot of pet people in our chat too. So welcome. What is self-care? You know, you guys may have heard of Jennifer Loudon. She's an author and writing coach. I think she had been on Oprah, the Oprah show at one point. And she says that self-care, I really love this, that self-care is not selfish or self-indulgent. We cannot nurture from a dry well. We need to take care of our own needs first. Then we can give from our surplus, our abundance. That really spoke to me because I think that, now tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that often when it comes to self-care, we tend to give more to our clients than we tend to give to ourselves. And that, as she said, we can't nurture from a dry well. That is certainly a challenge because when we give so much, there's not much left for us. We'll talk more about the expectations of our professions in just a little bit as well, no doubt. Next slide, please. So what is it? So when we talk about self-care, and y'all have certainly given me some great ideas about what you think it is. Thomasina says self-care is wellness of mind, body, spirit, finances, and relationships. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. We'll speak to the mind, body, spirit connection here in just a little bit too when it comes to self-care. But we've known for a long time that self-care for us as helpers is so very important. It is vital. Even the good Dr. Sigmund Freud, the grandfather of psychiatry, discussed the stress associated with the therapist's uncertainty of their client's success in therapy and the need to focus on the therapists in coping when working with their clients. Self-care is often seen as a self-nurturing means that affirms and protects we as clinicians as they undertake the care of others. You guys know I'm a social worker, so you'll see social worker included in this presentation throughout, but know that I know we have a lot of other wonderful beautiful professions that are here with us today. And so certainly interchange social worker with whatever your profession is, because we all do such wonderful work and know how it feels. The NASW, National Association of Social Workers, identified self-care as an essential underpinning to best practice in social work. It is essential. It is. And today I'm going to challenge you to make it essential. We're going to have to make it happen. We absolutely will. I have faith in you guys. Finley STEM and also NASW describe self-care for therapists as the utilization of skills and strategies to maintain their own family, personal, emotional, and spiritual needs while attending to the needs and demands of their clients. Again, the entire mind, body, spirit connection that I think is so very important in recognizing the need to take care of ourselves. How often, and I'd like to hear some feedback from you as well. How often do you feel like you put the needs of others before your own? And let's be honest, because we're all about being honest today. We've got to have an honest conversation about this. How often do you feel like you put the needs of others before your own? And I'm not just talking about your clients here. I'm also talking about your family, friends, coworkers. Let me know, what are your thoughts on that? And we'll chat about that throughout our discussion today here. I see Karen says quite often, Saeed often, yes. Marla, every day, yes. Thank you so much for your honesty. I appreciate the honesty, no doubt. And Trisha says pretty often, absolutely. Sakia says always. I'm right there with all of you, no doubt. Can we go to the next slide, please? What isn't self-care? Now, we always talk about, what it is. We talk about what we think it is, and and it's this. It seems like often it's very this amorphous concept that we're gonna get into more specific examples here in just a little bit. But what isn't self-care? It is absolutely not difficult. It's not. The things that we talk about for self-care are should be enjoyable. They should be something that brings us value and worth. But I think the most difficult aspect of this is if we just need to put this into practice. It's like with our clients. Everything that we talk about with our clients, so much of it, some of it is difficult, absolutely, but so much of it is not. It's really focusing on doing something differently. It's not something that we force ourselves to do, even though sometimes we do have to incorporate this into our routine, right? We do have to make it even a goal for ourselves. As odd as that might sound, you work on short-term and long-term goals with your clients all the time, I am sure. And I want you to focus on those same goals for yourself. I want you to put yourself in your client's shoes, and I want you to frequently ask yourself when it comes to your self-care, well, what would I tell my clients? How would I respond to this particular issue that I'm dealing with? What would I say to my clients about this? And I want you to show yourself that same love and kindness and compassion and grace. Please, it is so necessary. And also too, self-care, we also know that it is not something that we don't enjoy doing. Let's focus on things that you enjoy because, like your clients, you absolutely deserve that. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, when we talk about this concept of stress and burnout, which I know y'all are very familiar with, when we talk about this, I think as we have experienced the height of the COVID pandemic and still dealing with COVID, as you all know, we can't not have a conversation about self-care and not mention COVID. I think that at the height of the COVID pandemic, and even now, we still find that stress and work burnout contribute to so many issues for us. And I think too, please give me some feedback in the chat as well. Like, I truly don't know, myself included, I truly don't know too many clinicians around the Mooresville, Charlotte area that have immediate availability or any relatively soon availability for seeing their clients. I think part of the silver lining to the COVID pandemic was that, thankfully, we started really seeing mental health as being equally as important as our physical health. And, and we're having a different conversation about mental health now, which I'm so glad to hear that. For so long, and like October said at the beginning of our chat, I've been doing this for 20 plus years now too. So it's like, but for so long, we have fought the stigma associated with mental health, mental illness, and mental health treatment. And I think the silver lining to the COVID pandemic has been, I'd love feedback from you guys on this, but I think the silver lining has been that more and more people are really taking it upon themselves to get support. And that's amazing. And that's fantastic. But on the flip side of that, for us as clinicians, it is definitely, this increased demand absolutely increases our burnout, our stress, our difficulty managing things. Just as an example, Forbes magazine recently released an article last year about burnout for clinicians, and they did a Gallup poll where it says here, and this is being recorded, by the way, so you guys will have this information if you want to refer back to it. But while it is not often talked about, nearly half of psychotherapists report burnout in their jobs. So from this sample, half of the clinicians reported burnout. I say that's a little low, because they also saw that psychiatrists, as you know, the medical doctors who provide medication management and some psychotherapy, they have higher rates of burnout. That study showed that 78% of psychiatrists had scores equivalent to high levels of burnout, and almost 20% screened positive for major depressive disorder. That is a very telling sign, I think, about how much stress and burnout affects us as clinicians. I would love more feedback about that too. But we look at the causes for burnout. All right, I think first and foremost, we mentioned the increased caseloads due to COVID. We absolutely must meet the call of our profession, but we must also be mindful of ourselves, our needs, and our own limitations. What are your thoughts on that? And I know everyone working in different areas here in the field totally understand. I have been very thankful and blessed to be able to work a little bit of everywhere throughout my mental health career with school-based services, through a local community mental health agency, through outpatient services with local hospital systems here. And I do know, tell me if I'm wrong, please, but I do know that in working with major healthcare corporations, dare I say, I'm saying it, we don't always think of healthcare as being a business, but it is, let's be honest. And with more and more clients seeking treatment, that again is a wonderful, beautiful thing. But also, too, when you've got managers who are saying, oh, well, this is a great way for us to make more money. So here, you can see 15 clients a day, right? That's not a problem. That's absolutely not a problem. It is a problem. And that's where I think part of where we get overloaded. These increased caseloads can cause such stress. So we need to be mindful of our own boundaries, which we'll speak to boundaries here in just a little bit. I've talked to myself and other therapists, because I do work with a couple of therapists on my caseload as well at my private practice. And I am also, I don't want to say guilty, but I guess guilty of trying to fit in more clients, changing my schedules so I can accommodate folks. We talk about meeting clients where they are, but we must also meet ourselves where we are. We also must learn how to set those good boundaries for ourselves, because tell me if I'm wrong, but we don't always practice what we preach. Please give me some feedback on that. This is why we're talking about healing the healer today. And let's face it, we're trying to help our clients. Our clients are struggling. I mean, at the height of the COVID pandemic, especially, but it still is affecting us today. And our folks are struggling. But guess what? So are we. So are we. And we've got to be honest about that. We've got to be honest about having a real conversation about that. Please tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't know too much of anyone who didn't have some sort of stressful, or dare I say, traumatic experience with COVID, including us as therapists, because we as clinicians, we are incredible. We do such wonderful work, but also we are also human beings, and we also deal with our own struggles related to the COVID pandemic, certainly. So please give me some honest feedback on this. And let's check the chat too. I see Catherine saying, I feel fortunate to work for an employer that is so validating, and that is absolutely fantastic. Gifty says, yes, guilty of changing the schedule to see more clients. No doubt, been there, done that. I still continue to do that. I'll be like, oh, if I could fit them in like at 10 o'clock at night, I could absolutely make it work. No. We have got to set those good boundaries with ourselves and our clients. Elise says, I resigned from an organization that kept asking me to add more hours. Thank you, because you've got to know your limitations. You've got to set your boundaries. You've got to know where to draw the line in the sand. I think one more cause of burnout, and then we're going to get to more of the issues of how it affects us as individuals. But I also think that many therapists enjoy seeing the progress that their clients make. I think I don't know about you, but I feel that is one of the many wonderful things that I enjoy about my career, is that I get to see people making progress. And I think that with some of our clients that just are not getting better because of ongoing chronic stress from this pandemic, especially, it can become rather frustrating. And that can be another contributing factor to us experiencing burnout. No doubt. And if we take a little bit of a deeper dive into what stress and burnout is, well, let's talk about it. With burnout, we experience a variety of different issues here. There is absolutely a lack of focus. We find it difficult to pay attention and to focus on our job requirements. And job requirements, as you know, is there's so many that go along with this, not just taking care of our clients, but also scheduling, also paperwork, also, I don't know about y'all, but notes are the absolute bane of my existence. And I just told y'all I was going to keep it real because look, we're talking about stress and burnout. Notes, documentation. I know it's so important, so important. And October is going to do a little bit of a presentation on documentation at the end of our chat. It's so very important and it's so useful. Don't get me wrong. But also too, that all the treatment plans, all the progress notes, all the assessments, all of this, let's keep it real. It is a lot of work. So we need to focus too, which October is going to help us with. We need to focus too on being able to do it more efficiently. It's a requirement of our job, but we're going to focus on being able to do it more efficiently. And I see a few of y'all are agreeing with what I'm saying about these paperwork expectations. Yes, no doubt. So let's look at too the physical. Oh, Catherine says, yep, the documentations and the forms and the mandated meetings. Absolutely. Which many times, mandated meetings, if you don't always get paid for those. So that's something to be mindful of too. Your time is absolutely vital and precious, and let's see it as a precious resource here. No doubt. Oh, I see you guys. We're having an honest conversation about these notes and this documentation here. No doubt. Oh, and Charlotte said, thank you for adding that. Half my burnout comes from dealing with insurance companies. Absolutely. Have you, y'all may deal with this, and please forgive me, my wonderful utilization review folks, if there are any of you on this chat. Do you know how many times I'm getting calls now from insurance companies that are saying, hey, Mr. Morrison, we need to staff this client with you. We need to talk about what's going on with this client and figure out some ways to help. Translated, that means that, hey, we don't really want to pay for treatment as much anymore. When are you going to be done? And those things happen to me quite often. So I don't know if that's an experience that you guys have. Again, my apologies to my utilization review people. I get it, totally get it. But it definitely can be quite a stressor when we're in the business of trying to help people, and we also have to deal with balancing out insurance companies' requirements and their own needs. Absolutely. Also, get back to the self-care and work burnout. So, physical symptoms. Seriously, when we get so stressed, because as you know, the impact of stress on us, we may get sick. I have my therapist on my caseload that I work with right now report feeling sick, frequently feeling sick, having a weakened immune system that contributes to physical illness. We know that there are a lot more bugs out there besides COVID, and so we have to be mindful that we have to keep ourselves safe and focus on our own well-being here. And also, too, if we look at just the regular symptoms of stress and also anxiety, dare I say, because anxiety of any of the mental illnesses, anxiety is the one with the most physical somatic complaints that we see. But folks experience heart palpitations, increased blood pressure, sweating, digestive issues, chest pain, and headaches. I mean, the entire laundry list of physical symptoms that go along with stress, burnout, and also anxiety. The emotional symptoms of this, the emotional impact of the stress and the work burnout is important to recognize too. If you experience anxiety, depression, a pervasively negative worldview, that is, let me just normalize that for you, because let's just be honest, it's tough now. It's always been tough. It's always been difficult. It's not a walk through the park and doing what we do for a living. All of you know that. And you knew that, I'm sure, before you went into the field. But I think especially now, it feels more difficult. Things feel more heavy. I think COVID still contributes to that. There are a lot of different other factors in the world that's contributing to that nowadays too. And we must always be aware of all of the different systems that we interact with on a daily basis. The Reverend Valerie says, finding ways to be proficient in generating notes is imperative. It helps to be able to be concise. Absolutely. Please don't reinvent the wheel when it comes to doing your progress notes. Please be as concise as you possibly can. And as October, I'm pumping you up here, October. As October is going to talk to you in just a little bit, we are going to find some more efficient ways to document things, making sure that you get all of the information, but also you're not writing War and Peace on each progress note. Please, please. Also, too, exhaustion. I want some honest feedback about exhaustion. Not just the physical exhaustion, but just the emotional exhaustion, too. If you're feeling tired all day, every day, that is absolutely an area of concern. And I think, too, that is where, when we're focusing on self-care activities, that is where we absolutely can replenish ourselves and to fill up the cup, that cup that we were just talking about a little bit ago. Also, too, one more thing about self-care and stress and work related to work burnout also too. And please give me some honest feedback on this one too, y'all. It's also, when we talk about burnout, there's also this idea of, and I know it's in the DSM-5, we talk about depersonalization when it comes to things like schizophrenia, for example. We're talking about a schizophrenia diagnosis. We talk about depersonalization, where the person doesn't feel like they're real, or the person is experiencing things that make them feel disconnected from themselves. And I think when we look at depersonalization as it pertains to burnout, we see depersonalization where clinicians develop dehumanized and cynical attitudes toward the clients that they serve. And they have a distant feeling toward their clients that often leads to sarcasm and cynicism. And Catherine, yes, we're going to talk about compassion fatigue in just a little bit, because this is certainly related. But how many of your clients, because many of mine have done this, how many of your clients have said to you, I went to this therapist and it looked like and sounded like that therapist needed more support than I did at that time? I have heard so many stories about this. And I think, can I just say too, Susan, I'm trying to keep up with everybody's comments here too. Thank y'all so much. But Susan says, I'm taking a couple of months sabbatical because I'm so burned out. I don't know what I'm going to do to rejoin the workforce, but I have to do this or I'm going to get sick. Thank you so much, Susan. I so appreciate that. That is the kind of mentality that we have to take with this, because yes, totally understand we got to get paid. Let's keep it real. We got to eat, right? Totally understand we've got to get paid. But my goodness, like you said, Susan, you're going to get sick if you don't focus on taking better care of yourself. And certainly there's always going to be options. I tell this to my clients all the time. There will always be options for employment. That's one of the good things in our field right now. As we talked about earlier, that's one of the good things in our field. There are always going to be options. I never want to see anyone struggling, but I think if we're looking at this from a business perspective, I think it is certainly a good time to be a therapist, is it not? And I think, Susan, those opportunities will be there when you heal yourself and focus on yourself and decide, if you decide to get back into the field, no doubt. No doubt. But depersonalization as it pertains to our clients is very real. And I will say, I certainly enjoy working with my clients so much, and I so appreciate all of them in so many different ways. But again, if we're keeping it honest, there are some days where I look and I see, oh, Miss So-and-so's on my calendar today. Dang it, I got to deal with all of that. Yes, and because we're keeping it real. And so what does that say? I appreciate all of my clients, but that might be some burnout when I'm saying things like, oh my gosh, do I have to deal with her today? So let's please, please, please be mindful of those kind of thoughts and feelings too, as we're going through this. And Elise said, self-esteem is knowing you are just as important as your client. And I so agree with that. I sign off on that so much. Thank you so much for sharing that, Elise. We'll talk more about that in just a second too. Can we get the next slide too, please? We already know a lot of these things already. We've already mentioned this, but NASW says that work stress and burnout contributes to that feeling of depletion. which leads to dysfunction and the worker feeling inoperative. When we feel empty, when we feel like our cup is empty, then we're not going to be good for our clients. We're absolutely not going to be good for ourselves either. And we know, y'all have already mentioned this, we know that compassion fatigue is indeed real. And we've been talking about this for a long time, and back in the 90s, especially, where we see that it occurs as the result of the emotional demands of our job. Again, I said this is not an easy field. This is a rewarding, fantastic, beautiful field, but it is not easy. So I appreciate each and every one of you that are putting forth the effort to try to help your clients, because I know you are. I have faith and confidence in you that you are. I just want you to focus more on yourself, and we'll speak to that in just a little bit. No doubt, no doubt. Oh, and Melanie says, to be honest, this is my lunchtime, and I try to take a nap for self-care to strengthen for the rest of the day. Melanie, I'm here for all of that. I think that sounds absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And look, as I've gotten older, I've certainly appreciated the value of a nap myself. So thank you for sharing that about naps. We're going to speak to some specific examples of some self-care here in just a little bit, but thank you also for spending your lunchtime with us today. So, also, too, compassion fatigue, we see it when we are exposed to our clients' trauma stories. When we are trying to help our clients deal with their stress. When we are helping our clients, we're making a space for our clients to help them and giving them the opportunity to share their pain with us. That, again, is a treasured, wonderful thing. But also, too, with burnout and stress, it can also feel like that becomes more and more heavy for us to be able to do that. Also, we see compassion fatigue, which I think y'all have mentioned a little bit already, with organizational stress and limited work resources. With organizational stress, we talked about before the increased expectations of a higher workload. And also, too, with meetings, having the meetings. I don't know if I used to work in corporate healthcare. Have you ever had a meeting to plan the meeting, to schedule the meeting and discuss a meeting? Yes, that is absolutely bureaucracy inefficiency. And that sounds like that's a completely different webinar, but I think that it bears mentioning here today, because the inefficiency of bureaucracy will absolutely exhaust us and burn us out to no end. Especially, and I think some of the research points to limited work resources. I remember having conversations with a lot of my former bosses where it was like, hey, do you have what you need to do your job? Hey, are you maintaining a good work-life balance? And after a little while, and I'm not trying to be negative here, I'm just being honest, but after a little while, I felt that, wow, okay, I don't really have what I need to do my job. And I really don't feel like there is a good work-life balance here. And I think having that realization was so very important, because like we were saying earlier, you've got to know your boundaries. You've got to know your limits. And sometimes you just need to say, hey, okay, this isn't working for me, and I'm going to pursue other options. It's perfectly okay to do that. Compassion fatigue is also related. It impacts we talked about depersonalization a little bit ago. It absolutely impacts our ability to express empathy and to feel compassionate toward our clients. And it totally decreases job satisfaction, which, as you know, too, in bureaucratic corporate healthcare too, there's always job satisfaction surveys. How honest are you on those surveys, though? How honest are you being with yourself on these type of surveys? How satisfied are you? No doubt. Wait, and Jessica, I think, shared a great idea here. Where I work, they require the meeting ends 5 minutes before the end of the hour to give us a chance to refresh prior to the next thing. I love that. I really like that. It's those kind of things, I think, that businesses need to be, and agencies and practices need to be aware of in order to help prevent some of this burnout that we as clinicians experience. Can we go to the next slide, please? All right, so how to do it? Because we say we talk about it all the time. Again, it feels like this amorphous concept. So how do we do it? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, all right, you got to find what works for you, and that is a process. So, kind of as you say to your clients, I'm sure, find what works for you. Self-care for one person might be completely different for another person, and that's okay, because there's a variety of different things that each of us can do for ourselves. I also mentioned earlier the importance of incorporating it into your routine. Do some things differently. I don't know. Dr. Phil's okay, but 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 I think one of the things I really appreciate about him is that he talked about this concept of doing one thing differently, doing things differently, because, well, as he says, how's that been working out for you? And if the answer is not so well, then we absolutely have to make different changes here. No doubt, no doubt. I name dropped Dr. Phil today. So there you go. There you go. But be purposeful with self-care. Be aware of why you engage in self-care, and stay mindful of how it feels, and explore the outcomes. What do we always do as clinicians? We're always exploring the outcomes with our clients. Are we not? Are we not always asking them to assess anxiety, depression? Where do you stand? We're using Likert scales, the GAD-7 scales, the CDIC, all of the childhood depression inventory, all the PHQ-9, all of the testing measures that we give to our clients. I would love for you to be aware of where you are with your self-care, and be honest about what it is that you're doing or not doing related to your self-care. No doubt, no doubt. And really, at the end of the day, did it work? Asking yourself, having an honest conversation, did these self-care activities work, or do I need to try something else? Because again, as we always said, there are always options. I refuse to believe otherwise. So can we go to the next slide, please? So we talk about self-care all the time. We don't always talk about some specific ideas. So let's brainstorm, and please feel free. Y'all have been doing such a great job with sharing. I can't respond to everybody's messages, and I want to. I keep looking at them. I don't want to say, I got to be mindful of time here, because I think we could probably have a day-long seminar or more on self-care. So this is kind of like the condensed version of it all. But certainly, please feel free to continue to share your own self-care activities that you have found to be helpful. This is your opportunity here to do that. So these are some frequent examples of self-care that I've tried to use for myself, which I think has proven to be pretty helpful. I just need to maintain that consistency. I think that is so very important here. It's kind of like, I want you to incorporate these self-care activities like you would incorporate them into a new morning routine. You think about your morning routine, right? What does that look like? All right, I know for me, I get up, make the coffee, start getting clothes together, brushing teeth, doing all those things, getting clothes, taking a shower, all of that. In some part of all of that routine, I have learned to incorporate some self-care activities like some deep breathing, some meditation, listening to my 80s music, which is fantastic. I'm a child of the 80s, and so it really does help. But you've got to incorporate it in your routine, or it's not going to be helpful. That lack of consistency, as we talk about with our clients, that lack of consistency is not going to be helpful when we're talking about these particular issues. So we've mentioned this before: establishing and maintaining appropriate boundaries with yourself and with other people. Say no when necessary. You can say no. I'm giving you permission to say no, and you've got, of course, it's not up to me. You've got to give yourself permission to say no. And how comfortable are we with saying no? Y'all hit me up in the comments and let me know. Remember, we're being honest, is how comfortable are you with saying no? How comfortable are you with saying to your clients, I don't have any availability that day. I can't meet with you then, but I can meet with you on this day. Karen says no is a complete sentence, and I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. If you are continuing to make yourself inconvenienced for your clients or for anybody else in your life, then that is doing you a disservice. That is absolutely not self-care. One of the most favorite memes that I've seen in quite a while, because I'm a fan of memes. I'll share memes with my clients, and it's really great because, they'll share things with me, which is fantastic. One of my most favorite memes that I've seen recently, which you have probably seen already, being therapists yourselves, is that you are not required. Y'all know what I'm about to say. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. I want you to remember that. I want you to put that into practice. If you like it, make it a mantra, right? That could be something you can say to yourself when you're incorporating these new self-care techniques, when you're getting ready in your morning routine, for example. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. And Sanji said that's one of my favorite quotes. Yes, totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you for y'all's support of that. And please feel free. I didn't make it up. I don't know where it came from, quite honestly, but please feel free to use it because, hey, it is so very helpful, no doubt. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Say no when necessary. Please say no. Examples for me. These are some of the things I do. I try to turn my phone off at night. I develop a cutoff time to respond to emails and phone calls. Try to give myself, what's the professional length of time to respond to emails and phone calls? I usually try to do them within 24 hours, but I've heard 24 to 48 hours. So let's be mindful of that. Please don't go to things that you don't want to go to. Give yourself permission to, if you don't want to do it, then say no to yourself. You can say no. And as we've said, no is a direct sentence, or it is a complete sentence. And also, too, if you don't feel comfortable with the more direct no, because I talk to my clients a lot about no's, there are different kind of no's, too. There's the rain check no, right? Whereas y'all know what a rain check is. I think the stores still use rain checks in the 21st century, but rain check is, okay, I can't do it now, but I can do it later, right? Please focus on being able to say no, because if you're the yes person, if you're saying yes to everything, including your client's requests, then you are going to burn yourself out. Give yourself permission to say no. Again, these are some things that have proven to be helpful for me. So we'll talk more about some other examples here in just a little bit, but spending quality time with family, loved ones, your other social supports. Again, we've already established as I've gotten older here, I so appreciate sleep. Sleep. You've got to have it. Sleep is so required. It is so necessary. And I want you to give yourself permission to sleep. Absolutely. Oh, and at least if you don't go within, you go without. I really like that. All right, I'm jotting that one down. I really like that one too. But please assess how much sleep you are getting. And I know, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I know you're probably talking to your own clients about sleep hygiene, as the clinical term is called, and you may very well not be following up with those same recommendations that you give your clients. I want you to think about that, and that goes for anything with your clients. I want you to think about that. What would you say to your clients in these kind of situations? Please. And can we go to the next slide too, please? All right, so this is always a challenge for myself, eating a well-balanced, nutritious diet. All right, well, we know, I don't know about you, but one of the most beautiful things I really appreciated, another silver lining from the COVID pandemic was the popularity of DoorDash and Uber Eats. It's so ridiculously expensive. I don't know, but forgive me if I'm being critical. It's so ridiculously expensive, but it's so convenient. So, but what do we have on Uber Eats and DoorDash? But like McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Burger King, I mean, all the things. So it's like, in our difficult, hectic schedules, we may very well say, like me, hey, I can just order DoorDash real quick, and it'll be quick. It'll save me time, and I'll eat in 5.5 minutes, and then I'll get back to it. Okay, that is absolutely not healthy, and you don't need to hear me say that because I'm sure all of you know that. So be mindful of your diet and how you eat. I know I am by no means anyone's dietitian or nutritionist at all, but please focus on being more mindful of what you eat and drink, and your caffeine and alcohol consumption. And one of the things I do implement on a daily basis is drink more water. Hydrate. That is so very important, no doubt. Also, relaxation, deep breathing techniques. There's also various apps that you can use as well. Calm is great. There's Smiling Mind, Happy Fi, Headspace. There's all kind of wonderful apps. If you're inclined to use apps, then please, by all means, explore some different apps that can be helpful for you. Laughing and smiling is also very important. Give yourself permission to watch something funny. Watch a funny show or a funny movie. Laugh and smile more often. I sound generic, but I'm going to say it anyway. You know what I'm about to say. It takes more muscles to frown, 47 of them, than it does to smile, 13 of them. So let's please focus on laughing and smiling a little bit more, finding some things that you find humorous. It is okay. Also, too, for yourselves, manage your expectations. I know you do a great job with managing expectations with your clients. Also, manage expectations for yourself. Saeed said workout. Yes, I think that's on here somewhere. I think we'll absolutely get to this, but I totally agree with that, no doubt. But manage expectations for yourself. Strive for excellence, not perfection. That's something else that I swiped somewhere over the years. But strive for excellence, not perfection. Perfection is an illusion, right? Excellence is not. Excellence is not. It is very real. Perfection, not real at all. Not realistic at all. So other relaxing activities you can enjoy. You can hike, watch Netflix and chill or not. Y'all know what Netflix and chill means. I'm just throwing that in there because look, that's also an important part of our overall health as well-beings too, as human beings too. We'll talk about that in just a second too. But listening to music, journaling, drawing, going to the movies, nap, travel, sing, read a book, call a friend. Sanji's laughing at me, I know. But look, y'all know I keep it real here. Our sexual health, that's a huge part. Y'all know what Netflix and chill is. That watch some movies and then maybe have some intimate time together, no doubt. But our sexual health is so very important too. You got to give yourself permission if that is something you enjoy. Give yourself permission to recognize the importance of doing that as well. No doubt, no doubt. I'm not trying to make this webinar rated R, so let's move forward, please. Thank y'all for your honest feedback about these things. Can we go to the next slide, please? I think really one of the most wonderful things that we can do when it comes to our self-care is really learning to retrain our brain, cognitive reframing, if you will. You know, we use cognitive reframing with our clients all the time. If you are a cognitive behavioral therapist, at some point you are talking about cognitive reframing and gratitude. Practicing gratitude is absolutely something here that is so vitally important. You absolutely must do it. We have seen more and more studies, especially Robert Emmons. He's a PhD clinical psychologist who focuses on gratitude. That is his research. That is his area. And Emmons, he is a best-selling author too, in case you're interested. But he said that there are 3 stages to being grateful. Is that and this isn't rocket science either. Let's just be honest. But one is recognizing what we are grateful for. Can we acknowledge some things of what we're grateful for? Recognizing it, he said. Then 2, acknowledging it. I always look at acknowledging it as like, okay, you sit with it for a little bit. You sit with it, you marinate it in it, if you will. Or it's like you're thinking about, all right, I want to recognize what I'm grateful for and acknowledge it. And then the third part of this is appreciating it, recognizing the why of why you feel grateful. Absolutely. And give me some things, if you don't mind, as we're chatting. Please send me some things that you are grateful for today, because gratitude kind of goes along with mindfulness, right? Which we won't have time to talk about, but maybe that's another webinar. But focusing on the right now, what are you grateful for right now at this particular moment at 12:48? And I know October is probably like, Don, hurry it up and be quiet so we can move forward here. So I'm going to wrap things up in just a little bit.
No, you keep going. You keep going. I was thinking, I'm grateful for Don for doing this wonderful webinar. That's what I was thinking.
I'm very grateful for you. Thank you so much. I agree with all these things. Opportunities like this. Thank you so much for saying that. For friends, grateful right now for you and the web. Karen, thank you for saying that. Sharing moments in a community that understands like this. And thank y'all so much. Thank you. Oh, I see cats. fellowship, being here. Valerie says, being here, no doubt. Thank you so much. Thank everybody I thank you all for being here. But the studies, this is a nice little graphic I found. The studies, and just in a brief overview of this, is the studies have shown that when we practice gratitude, we know, and y'all probably know this as well, it literally reforms neural pathways in the brains where people can think about things differently. And as you know, if you think about things differently, then you can respond and behave differently. So studies show that gratitude helps people to have fewer health problems. So we talked about how with stress and with burnout and with all the things, how that can contribute to health issues. Certainly, we see people having fewer health issues. Gratitude helps us to feel more positively about the future, like looking forward to what's going to happen in the future. It helps us to generally feel better and to feel more satisfied with our lives and our jobs, by the way. And it helps us to fall asleep more quickly and to get more sleep, because we need at least that 7 or 8 hours. Please promise you're going to try to do that for me. And then also, too, when you wake up in the morning, feeling refreshed when you wake up, because that's so very important too. How you start the day really is important in terms of what kind of day you're going to have. And I know it sounds like a Hallmark card, but I really, really do believe this. Hallmark cards are great, by the way, but I really do believe this. If you're going to feel more refreshed when you wake up, that really is going to influence and color the rest of your day. No doubt, no doubt. Can we go to the next slide too, please, real quick? All right, let's see. Oh, and Charlene, thank you so much for the kind words. Y'all, I love you. Just fantastic. Y'all are just the best. Y'all are the best. I'm so glad to be with you here right now too. But the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which, by the way, as y'all probably know, is such an invaluable resource for us as clinicians and for our clients too. And this is your homework assignment, if you don't mind. I want you to do your own self-care inventory of how well you are self-caring right now, okay? And this, y'all know how this works. This is a typical Likert scale. So we've got the some of the physical and psychological self-care activities here. I want you to go, when you get a chance, I want you to go through this and rate yourself on a Likert scale of 1 to 5. 1 being it never occurred to me at all. 5 means very frequently, no doubt. And I want you to go through these and really spend some time with these. And again, be honest with yourself. And one of the things on here, and I know we don't have a lot of time to really go through this, but I think one of the things on here is making time for self-reflection, writing in a journal, and also engaging in personal psychotherapy. I highly encourage therapy for therapists. It is much needed. It is much needed. And remember, we're working on taking away the stigma away from mental health treatment. We listen to people's pain and suffering all day, every day. And it really, at some point, if we don't focus on taking care of ourselves and having a place to put our own stress and our own feelings about this and being honest about, it's okay to take care of myself as much as it is taking care of my clients, then I really do think that could be very helpful. So I am a huge fan of therapy for the therapist. Please, thank you, Melanie. You have a therapist now. I am so glad. It is much, much needed. When I used to teach at UNC Charlotte in the School of Social Work, I would encourage all of my students there to focus on getting therapy for themselves. We have to be able to heal ourselves before we can heal other people. And there I go, going into Hallmark card territory, but it's so very true. Can we get to the next slide too, please? We got a few more minutes. This is one of my favorite things, the self-care wheel. And y'all have probably seen this too. I picked this up from Olga Phoenix, the Olga Phoenix Project, where it talks about the necessity of focusing on social change and focusing on change for ourselves. So please feel free to use this for yourself. If you feel like your clients could benefit from it, please feel free. There are numerous dimensions. When we talk about self-care, there are numerous dimensions of self-care that we need to consider, which we've already talked about all of these: the psychological, the emotional, the spiritual, the personal, the professional, and the physical. So it's so very important to look at each and every one of these dimensions for ourselves. And here they give us specific examples of concrete ideas we can use for our own self-care. So please, I highly encourage you to explore it some more examples of what more you're going to do for yourself, I want to challenge you to do something different. Try some new things, do some different things. And if they work, fantastic. If they don't, that's equally fantastic, because you've got that insight about yourself that is so very necessary here to take good care of you. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is just an image that I found when I was looking through for self-care activities, and we talked about smiling and the importance of acknowledging the great things, the wonderful things in the world, the things to be grateful for. We know that there's so many difficult things in the world that we're dealing with right now, but you know what? I think that we got to take some time out to spread some joy. We got to take some time out to really enjoy this picture of this kid. Isn't this great? It's the beach. It's the smile. It's the watermelon. It's just the joy that's in this picture. I really wanted to share that with you. So please, let's focus on spreading some more joy, and also too, which I think is related, in my opinion, I think also not just joy, but also kindness. Being kind to other people, absolutely, but also being kind to yourself. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is I'm a big fan of Lady Gaga, so any Lady Gaga fans in here, please. She's just absolutely amazing, in my opinion, and very honest about her own mental health struggles and her own struggles with fame and all the other things she's had to deal with. She had a conversation, this is maybe, I think 3 or 4 years ago, with the Dalai Lama, and she was talking about kindness. And she was talking about how it's so important for us to extend that kindness and patience and grace with other people, but also it's equally as important to show yourself that same kindness. So we included the link here on the presentation. If you would like to take the time out, I think it's maybe not even 10 minutes, where she talks about kindness at this speaking engagement with the Dalai Lama. It's really fantastic if you've got the time to check it out. So can we go to the next slide, please? One more thing. We've already said this. Drum roll, please. The next slide is, you can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. And please, I'm a visual person, so if you can, please print out if you find some of these things helpful for you, please. Oh, I see we got some Lady Gaga fans in the audience. Thank you. But please print out these things. Visual reminders are so fantastic. You can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. I want to leave you, and then October, I promise, just two more minutes, if you don't mind, please. I want to leave you with one of my favorite poems that I have found, and this is, we can send you guys the link if you're interested. I'll give you the information now. You may have used this in your own clinical practice. It's called An Autobiography in 5 Chapters, and it's by Portia Nelson. And I've used this over the years with all of my clients and myself, actually, where it is such an insightful poem. It's 5 stanzas, and it's one of those poems that doesn't rhyme, so bear with me here. But the first stanza is, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Second stanza. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Stanza 3. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Stanza 4. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Stanza 5. I walk down another street. I want to lay down this challenge to all of you today, that if your lack of self-care is the hole that you keep falling into, I want you to identify that, to acknowledge it, to marinate in it, if you will, to sit with it for a while. I want you to recognize, if this is a hole that you keep falling into, I want to absolutely challenge you to walk down another street. Because guess what? You must. We need you. Your clients need you, but more importantly, you need yourself. I know I'm going Hallmark card territory again. You need yourself. You deserve you deserve to take good care of yourself. So that is my challenge to you today. Please, thank you for joining me. October is going to jump in and do some ICANN stuff, which is a fantastic platform for the efficiency of the notes that we were just talking about. And I'm absolutely going to be quiet. October, please take it away.
Second.
Okay.
Hey there. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
My
I
mic
can hear
is
you.
still
I can.
You did an amazing job. Thank you so much, Don. Thank you so much. I cannot, the best, absolutely the best. I wanted to, look, it's hard to follow, so I'm going to be really quick here. Can you, it is, because you did such an amazing job, and I love that. I love that poem.
Thank you.
Is everyone able to see my screen now? Are you able to see my screen? ICANotes? Yes. Okay. Is everybody saying yes? We can? Yes. Don, can you see it?
I can see it. Yep. I'm sorry.
Okay. Beautiful. All right, Don, give me a diagnosis of the patient that you last saw, like a symptom of the patient you last saw.
Let's see. Generalized anxiety disorder, excessive worry, and yes.
Now, are they getting better or worse? How are they doing?
Better. Yes.
Okay, let's go through it. So let's do a note. I'm just going to make up the rest of the story. How about that as we go along?
Absolutely.
Documentation with ICANotes, we encourage verbatim statements. You can absolutely type them out into the yellow, but I can go in here and say that they're having anxiety, that anxiety continues and they are getting better. And then we can talk about some of the things like they're having concentration issues and that is present. And maybe they are having a fear of losing control and that's absolutely present. There could be some panic attacks going in there, shortness of breath. We could have the trembling and shaking. We have, of course, child symptoms for that as well. And then I can go into behavior and I could talk about the individual's behavior with how are they doing with their self-care. Maybe that's been a little bit of reduced. How about functioning at work? Maybe that's been marginal. Substance use is more than advised here. And their sleep, they're having problems, falling asleep, staying asleep. Verbal content, what we're going to do for them is maybe they're having problems in their marriage and they have a lot of depression and low self-esteem based on that. And so therapeutic interventions will go in and our session goal could be to improve that self-esteem, right? And to talk about coping skills. And then interventions there could be giving them support and encouraging them to vent feelings. We can do mental status exams. We can do rating scales. So if you have them fill out like a PHQ-9 through the portal, we can put the results of that in. We can absolutely do suicide assessments, like they're not suicidal at this time. And we can even do justify level of care. Don's talking about the insurance, and that's a big part of it, right? So I'm going to say outpatient is still needed because it interferes with their day-to-day function and they are unable to self-alleviate. And then I can even come in, we have EMDR, we will have CBT and DBT therapies in here as well. And then I can even come in and link a treatment plan in. And so I can, let's say they had depression. I'm just using that for my list. So we're going to select depression. We're going to say that it's depressed mood. I can select interventions from that treatment plan, link that right into my notes, say that they're doing good and that we need maybe a little bit more time with that treatment plan. And link that directly into the note. And then I have a beautiful note that takes me, and this is going through their behaviors, their symptoms, linking in the treatment plan. And so I have this beautiful note that takes me usually 2 to 3 minutes to complete a note. I was explaining it, so it took a little bit longer. So this is how ICANotes helps your documentation. It has pre-populated statements. You can create your own templates in there. And of course you can type verbatim, but it helps with the documentation. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. So I thank you for joining the webinar today. I appreciate you so much. And if you're interested in ICANotes, please do not hesitate to contact us at ICANotes.com. I have a person that's going to stay in to answer any questions about that. And thank y'all so much. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. You guys take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.